You know those online banks that seem almost too good to be true? Like no fees, no minimum balance. What's the catch, right? Well, today we're going to crack open the books on one of the biggest names out there to solve a multi-billion-dollar mystery. Let's dive in.
The company we're talking about is Chime. And their promise? It's super simple and honestly, super powerful. You've probably seen it everywhere. Banking with absolutely no monthly fees. And look, for millions of us who are just so tired of getting nickel and dimed by the big traditional banks, that is a seriously tempting offer. Okay, but here's where the plot thickens. Even though they're not charging you all those typical fees, Chime was recently valued at a staggering $32 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. And that leads to a really obvious and really important question. I mean, think about it. If you and I aren't paying the monthly fees, who is? Where is all that money coming from? How do you build a business empire on a free service? That's the puzzle we are going to solve right now. All right, so our investigation starts with something most people get wrong about Chime. This first clue, it totally changes how you have to look at the company. And here it is, the big surprise. Chime is not actually a bank. Nope, it doesn't even have a banking license. What it is a technology company, a fintech firm that gives you that slick app and that really easy-to-use experience. So, if they're not the bank, who is? This slide really breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have Chime. That's the tech layer, right? The cool, user-friendly app you use on your phone. But behind the curtain, your money is actually held by a real, licensed, FDIC-insured bank like the Bancorp Bank. So Chime is the interface, but a traditional bank is the vault. And believe me, that distinction is absolutely crucial.
Okay, so we've established Chime is a tech company that partners with a real bank. But that still doesn't explain where the billions come from. For that, we need to look at the one physical thing they actually send you.
That's right. The key to this whole multi-billion-dollar operation isn't tucked away in some complicated financial document. No, it's probably sitting in your wallet or purse right now. It's the Chime Visa debit card. This little piece of plastic, this is the engine that drives their entire business. Every single time you use it, you're kicking off a hidden process that makes Chime its money. And this, my friends, brings us to the big reveal. We're about to pull back the curtain on the secret that fuels not just Chime, but a huge part of the modern financial world. It all comes down to a little something called an interchange fee. So what on earth is that? Well, to put it simply, every time you swipe your card at a store, that store, the merchant, has to pay a small fee on your purchase. The interchange fee is the piece of that fee that goes back to the bank that issued your card in the first place. Let's follow the money. Imagine you're buying a $5 coffee. Okay, step one, you swipe your Chime card. Instantly, the coffee shop has to pay a small processing fee to their bank. Out of that fee, Visa, the card network, takes a tiny cut. Then, the Bancorp Bank, remember them, the actual bank, gets the biggest piece because they issued the card. And finally, the Bancorp Bank gives a slice of its share to its tech partner, Chime. Boom. Now, on that $5 coffee, Chime might only make something like 6 cents. I mean, it's a tiny, almost nothing amount of money from just one purchase. So the real question becomes, how in the world do you build a $32 billion company on pennies and fractions of a penny? It sounds completely impossible, but this is where the genius of the business model really kicks in. See, the answer isn't about the size of the fee on any one transaction. It's all about the frequency. So now let's zoom out and look at the big picture, because this is all about the incredible power of scale. It really is all about volume. One swipe is basically nothing, right? But what happens when you have millions of customers, all making dozens of little purchases every single month? Well, those pennies start to add up, and they add up very, very fast. Just think about this for a second. One transaction is, 6 cents? But a million of those transactions, all of a sudden, that's $60,000. And a billion of them, now you're talking $60 million. When you have millions of active users swiping their cards for everything, gas, groceries, you name it, day in and day out, those tiny little fees create an absolute tidal wave of revenue. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for you? Well, first off, your free banking isn't really free, it's just being paid for by merchants every time you shop. Second, Chime's entire business is built to encourage you to swipe that card as often as you possibly can. And maybe most importantly, you are the engine of this whole thing. Your everyday spending habits are literally what's powering this massive, multi-billion-dollar machine. And you know, it all leads to this final, really fascinating question to chew on. Whenever a service we use is free, it forces us to ask, what's the real product being sold? In this case, it's your transactions. It's just a powerful reminder to always look for that hidden engine behind all the free services we use every single day.